metaphor that I like a lot about data engineering, and there's some talk about does a data engineer need to know data science? And my answer is that data engineering is the box that it happens. And so the bigger your box is, the bigger your data science can be. And so at these companies that I worked at, they're a pretty early stage in their data science journey. I actually did a lot of data engineering on purpose because I wanted to do better and bigger data science, and I wanted to build a bigger box, and so it helps. So it's nice to have automated pipelines. It's nice to have automated builds. All of these things, it's nice to have databases that run very, very quickly. It's nice to have stable infrastructure. If you have all of those things, it's easier to do the data science. It's hard to deploy a machine. If that machine crashes, it's hard to update models. That's all going to slow down your data science process. But if those things are automated and stable, it's much easier to do. Okay, so the other question that's very, very common is, do I need a PhD to become a data scientist? And my answer is unequivocally no. So you do not need to do that. However, the problem is that there's massive accreditation inflation in data science. I have a PhD. My PhD has not much to do with data science. I mean, I did some mathematical modeling, but all of my coding was in MATLAB in like really hacky scripts. So in no way was those skills, there were fundamental programming skills, but in no way there were programming skills that helped me in data science. I almost had to relearn programming in the correct way, in a way that's more like software engineering and less like scientific computing in order to do data science. And so my PhD was just this credential that I had that helped me get a foot in the door, even though behind that credential wasn't a lot of the skills that I actually needed to succeed on that job. So that PhD helped me get into the job position, but I had developed a lot of skills to like kind of maintain and succeed on that job. So I would not worry about having that. But then you can also think about, what about master's program? Like I'm in a master's program, I said to someone a little bit about that. What I would say is you also don't need a master's program. Like a master's program is a route that makes a lot of sense if you want to like kind of work in a social group of people, learn together, and you want to learn like in a kind of systematic way. There's other ways to learn, and I'm definitely wanting to encourage that. And so if you don't want to spend the time out of a workforce for a full year to get a master's or 2 years to get a master's, there's a way of doing that that doesn't require that. So what I found people that don't actually go the degree route are that they can be successful. And what they do is they find a specific domain. So maybe they're interested in supply chain, or maybe they're interested in education technology. And so they find a specific domain that they're interested in, or they find an emerging trend. And so the idea is that these school programs are very difficult to keep up with emerging trends. So if you happen to find a trend that you think is going to be incredibly important, you can become an expert on there because there's a lower bar to becoming an expert. Then you need to research it obsessively. There's nothing that beats hard work and being able to actually like work your way through scientific papers, being able to code things from scratch. Then once you do that, you need to turn back on that communication skills. In this case, you need to advertise your skills on the internet. So you just need to write articles, have packages, give talks that demonstrate your knowledge in these areas. And then that way you can actually create inbound demand. So remember I said that job searching is oftentimes like a sales position. Sales is very, very hard if you're cold calling people. And that's what people oftentimes do with job searching, is they're just cold calling. It's much easier if you create content marketing, in this case demonstrating your skills, and having inbound demand. And so you can do that if you do that. But the secret is, think about what is in high demand that's not currently being filled. So the more you're meaningful specific, the easier it is to connect with the right people. There's also, a lot of people, the majority of people actually were career transition people. And so this is the way that I think about with career transition. So this is based on the T model. And so the T model is that there's a broad range of skills, and that's just general ability to do things. So do you have the ability to work with numbers? Do you have a general understanding of probability? Do you have a general understanding of how computers work? And so once you satisfy that broad skill, you need to have specific domains. And so the original model was called the T model because they expect you to be broad and then have one specific domain. I'm going to tell you that's not the case anymore. So you call this the pie model, because it kind of looks like the pie symbol, or you can think about it as the comb model if you have multiple domains of expertise. So for me, I've decided to focus on deep learning and natural language processing as my deep areas of expertise. So I have just general broad skills, but I have specific domains that I understand that. And so you have to ask yourself, are you lacking the broad skills? Do you just not have the ability to, make computers do the things you want them to do? Or are you just too general? And so it's very hard to hire a generalist. Usually people have specific needs. So you need to focus on a specific core area and learn a lot more about that and become an expert on that. So you gotta kind of do a self-reflection on which one you're missing.